What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we have a shakeup when it comes to the Social Security Administration Commissioner. And we're going to talk a little bit about Martin O'Malley has resigned, and President Trump has appointed someone new to be the Social Security Commissioner, Frank Bisignano. And I don't know his history. I'm going to do a little bit more research on him. I'll do a video in the future, and we'll talk a little bit about him. But I want to show you this clip of Martin O'Malley. He is talking about Social Security, so that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, and if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so I'm going to show you this clip. It's about 5 minutes, so we're going to watch it together, and I'll chime in different parts of this interview because I think it's pretty interesting how the interviewer is asking some questions. I don't know if the interviewer really knows how Social Security works, but we'll take a look. Here we go.
So the Trustees report basically lines out where all this goes. And in 10 years, give or take, the $100 that you get isn't going to be $100 for Social Security because we're running out of money. And it basically says you either have to raise taxes, you have to cut benefits, or there has to be a combination of both. And when you get ideas like this, it only adds to more benefits, more.
Now, this is interesting, this chart here, and he just talked about this, but look at the very top there. It says raise taxes by 3.3%. That's one way to reform Social Security. The other way would be reduce benefits by 21% for everyone. So that's another way. Now, I'm not quite sure that 21% would be enough in order to reform Social Security because we're looking for reforms that are going to push Social Security, the issue with the insolvency, push that down the road another 50 years. I don't know if that 21% is going to do that. But then the next one there says reduce benefits by 25% for current beneficiaries. And then the last one says a combination of the above. And so when you're looking at this, just as the average person looking at this, which would you prefer? Reduction in benefits of 21%? Reduction in benefits of 25% for people who are currently receiving benefits? Combination of, of all of them? Or would you prefer the raise taxes by 3.3%? Now, understand this. If we're talking about raising taxes by 3.3%, what that's going to mean is you're working, you're currently contributing 6.2%. That goes to the Social Security Administration. Your employer is matching that 6.2%. So realistically, if we're talking 3.3% increase, for you it would be like a 1.6% increase for an individual, and then your employer would match that 1.65 or however you want to look at it. So let's just round it up. 1.7% would be your increase, and then your employer would match that 1.7%. So that's not that bad in the big scheme of things. If you're looking at some of the other options, that's a pretty good option, I think, for most people who are currently working. If you were to tell them, we can extend Social Security out for another 50 years, but you're going to have to contribute 1.7% more, I think most people would say, okay, that makes sense. As long as I get 100%, I don't want to see cuts to my benefits when I get to the point where I'm retiring. And if they can assure that and show us that the money is there, I really don't see an issue with raising the taxes. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue.
More money and doesn't solve the problem. What happens from here? Because we know where this is headed.
Yeah, let's unpack all of that.
Okay.
First of all, there is no reason that Social Security need go bankrupt or insolvent. In fact, it's not on a path for bankruptcy or insolvency in the way that you and I and people on the street would understand those terms.
It's just pennies on the dollar.
It is
79 cents on the dollar.
It is true, though, that back in 1982, when the last congressional reforms were made, famously Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill had a beer, and they created 75 years of fiscal health for Social Security. They knew the baby boomers were coming. And they knew that there would be this big demographic bulge, so they built up a surplus reserve. And it is true that that surplus reserve is being depleted sooner than they thought, but that's because of changes to the tax code that took more of the dollars out of the bracket that Social Security applies to and pushed it into the top 6% of earners. So bills on Capitol Hill by like John Larson in Congress or Senator Whitehouse actually don't call for cuts. They show how we can actually get wealthier people to start paying into Social Security again, because right now, like a nurse works all year, pays into it. Warren Buffett stops paying after the first 13 seconds after midnight.
Let me ask.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is raise the cap. That's the argument that he's making there. And the interesting part when we're looking at this whole discussion here, you do have to understand there's been a shift. So wealthy people are no longer having to contribute to the FICA tax. And so because they're not contributing to the FICA tax, the Social Security trust funds are being depleted much faster. Now, if they had to contribute, if we raise, then right now the cap is what, 168,600. Next year it's going to go up, I think, to 169,000 or something. It's going to go up next year, which it goes up every year. But the point here is when you start shifting and taking people out of FICA where they don't have to contribute to FICA anymore, that hurts the trust funds. That means less money goes in. And that means that now we're in a situation where we have to take money from the trust funds. The trust funds are there for emergency purposes, but we're now in an emergency. Let's say a 9-year emergency that we're looking at right now because people who are working are paying into the payroll contribution, and that's going to pay out benefits, but we need more. We need a little bit more money, and that's why they're pulling from the trust funds. But if you did raise the cap, then you would allow for more money to go into the trust fund and pay out benefits, and we'd be in a good situation because that trust fund would no longer be being depleted. It would actually be building up because we'd have extra money to go in to the trust fund.
Ask you it a couple of ways. I'm 40, I'm married with kids in elementary school. Without changes, is Social Security there for me?
It is.
Okay, now, and this is a great question, but this is where politicians start to get us all confused. You have people thinking that Social Security is going bankrupt, and the interviewer here is basically saying, is it going to be there for me? I heard it's not going to be there for me. I don't know how many people that I've talked to that said, yeah, Social Security is not even going to be there for me. So why should I even care about Social Security? That is absolutely not true. And Martin O'Malley is going to explain this, but we should all know we have 2 trust funds and then we have the payroll contribution. The payroll contribution will always be there. As long as we have people working, people are going to be paying into FICA unless Congress changes that and says, okay, well, we no longer have a FICA tax. But as long as we have a FICA tax, and as long as we have people working, money will go to the Social Security Administration, and that money will be given out to people who are currently receiving benefits. So we will always have Social Security unless they do away with FICA. But what he is referring to, the interviewer, what he's referring to, he heard about bankruptcy. Social Security is going bankrupt, but he's hearing about the 2 trust funds. The 2 trust funds are being slowly depleted. They will be insolvent, but not the program as a whole.
Is there, but if Congress doesn't act, which they always have before, by 2035, it was actually pushed off a year because of better than expected wage growth. And it is true that there would be an automatic 17% reduction in benefits.
So it's
unless
there,
Congress fixes it.
It's there, but again, pennies on the dollar.
No, that's interesting. He's talking about 17% decrease. I've been saying 23%. That's what I was hearing from, this is a couple of years ago, they were saying 23%. It might have improved now just based on our economy, but he's saying now 17% is the, so if we do nothing for the next 9 years, and I say we, if Congress does nothing for the next 9 years and they just allow the trust funds to be completely depleted down to zero, then we're looking at about a 17% cut.
Yeah, so let me tell you, last year we paid, it's a pay-as-you-go system, not a Ponzi scheme.
So Senator Ron Johnson basically says this is a legal Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's bullshit. I mean, that's not true. That's not true.
But what about the concept, though, of you have money coming in to pay for money coming out, and it's just not stable? I guess is the argument.
Well, it's been stable. It's been stable for 89 years. If it's a Ponzi scheme, as Senator Johnson says, it's the longest running Ponzi scheme in world history. Look, this is what happened.
Okay.
Last year, Social Security, we the people, paid $1.37 trillion in benefits. We, the people who were working, paid $1.35 trillion into it. Mm-hmm. So the dollars that people pay into it are the dollars that are paid out, just like an insurance company pays, claims on premiums. And the other...
Now, and this is a good point. Call it a Ponzi scheme, and you hear some politicians will say that. They're doing that just to discredit Social Security. They want to make Social Security look like it's just chaos there, the Social Security Administration. It's not useful. We should get rid of it. We should privatize it. They want to put all this, all these things in your head. So you think that Social Security we can't keep going forward with Social Security. But he explains it here talking about this is just like insurance because you pay in your insurance, right? Every month or every 6 months or however you pay. The car insurance is a good example. Knock on wood, I've never had an accident. But I've been paying car insurance since I was 16. Paying into car insurance, never used it. But in a situation where I do get in an accident, I do need to use insurance, then it's there for me. And I contribute, and what I'm contributing part of it goes to helping people who have been in accidents and need the money for insurance, and then some of it goes to the big wigs or goes to the insurance company. But is that a Ponzi scheme? Because we have a lot of different insurances around. So if we were going to call Social Security a Ponzi scheme, we should look at insurance companies. Maybe they're Ponzi schemes too, because they do the exact same thing. Money comes in and it goes out to help people who are in need at that time. And then when you get to a point where you are in need, that's when the insurance comes to help you. Just like we see hurricanes, we see fires, we see all this stuff. You pay your homeowner's insurance, and if there's a situation where you're in a fire or hurricane or what have you, then people that have been paying in, you pay in, everybody else pays in, they'll have money to help you and help your situation. That's the way it works.
Point two, right. That came from that built-up trust fund reserve, which because of income inequality is being depleted sooner than we thought it would in, 1982. I was in college and my friends were all saying it wouldn't be there for us, and now I get to apply next year.
So I don't want to be selfish. Forget about me and my generation for a second. Let's talk about my parents' generation, right? And full benefits when you start at 67. You just saw everything under the hood.
Yeah.
Is it your belief that the age needs to be pushed out, or else, again, they're getting pennies on the dollar?
I would not recommend that. I don't think that's sound policy, and this is why. If you're a lawyer or a doctor, your longevity has increased over the years. But if you're somebody that works hard and outdoors, your longevity has not so greatly increased, which means that your benefit, this is what you have to look at in terms of the benefits. It's life expectancy after the age of retirement. On Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, the life expectancy for males is 42 years, same as it was in 1968. So people who work hard would in essence amount to a cut if you raised it to 70 because they've had fewer years, even though they paid in to reap benefits.
I guess you could say the real key. The cut is coming, though.
Not necessarily. Well, look, Donald Trump could break a lot of things, and if he wants to, with these weird doji guys, they could turn Social Security into a Bitcoin bank. But I don't think that would be good for the American people. 80% of Americans, even in the time of polarization, want Social Security to be made stronger. They don't want it to be turned into a Bitcoin bank.
I don't think those guys are going to do that, though.
Well, we'll see, won't we, Blake?
All right.
We'll see. They're going to break a lot of things, and the American people are going to cry out for the sort of economic security that they once took for granted in terms of Social Security, not to mention Medicare.
Okay, so that was Martin O'Malley talking about Social Security. Now, I didn't like that last part where he was talking about hardworking people. I think what he should have said is physically demanding jobs, because you have a lot of doctors that are hard workers. They work hard. And so you have some jobs that are very physically demanding, and those are the jobs that people can't, work until they're 70, or they would probably not want to work until they're 70. And so that's what I think he should have said, not hard work, because people, there are people that all different types of jobs. You might be sitting at a desk, but you work hard. You work overtime, you work, you work extra hours and all of that. So it can be demanding in the sense that you have to devote a lot of your time to that job. But the physically demanding jobs, those are the ones where if you were to tell someone you can't retire at 67 now if you want to get your full retirement, you're going to have to wait until you're 70, a physically demanding job, yes, that would definitely impact those people. And so he's not for, and I'm not for raising the full retirement age. I don't think it's something that we should even be discussing. But you do have lawmakers that are out there and they think that's the solution. Let's just raise the full retirement age from 67 to 70. And you might have some people that think, well, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm probably going to retire at 62 anyway. And so I'm not going to wait until I'm 67. Well, if they were to, first off, if you take your retirement at 62, it's going to be a reduced benefit. I think it's like 35% less is what you'll be getting. Now, just think if they raise it from 67 to 70, well, now if you retire at 62, if they allow you to retire at 62, because we don't know what could happen, they could move everything up by 3 years. So you can't retire at 62 anymore, you're going to have to retire at 65. Or they can say, you can still retire at 62, but it's going to be at even a more reduced rate. So not 35%, but maybe 45% or 50%. And so we don't know exactly how that formula is going to work if they're talking about raising the full retirement age. So there's a lot out there, and there's a lot on the table right now. We're going to have to, the next 2 years for Social Security, I think it's going to be tough because we're going to hear a lot of different talk. Okay, you have President Trump right now talking about waiving taxes for people receiving Social Security benefits. That would be an increase for people receiving benefits. But then you have some Republicans that are talking about we need to make cuts to Social Security. So what is it? And then if we are looking at waiving taxes for people receiving Social Security benefits, it's not going to impact everyone. It's only going to impact those who are paying taxes, and it will deplete the trust funds even faster. And so now we're going to have to address the whole, the trust funds being depleted. We're going to have to address that much sooner if that's the case where they want to, eliminate taxes. And so there's a lot. I mean, the next 2 years are going to be pretty crazy because you have Republicans that are controlling the House, the White House, and the Senate. And so they can pretty much do what they want, with exception. I mean, with the Senate, you need 60 votes. So we're going to have to see if they're able to work around that, but through reconciliation bills. But I don't think that's going to impact Social Security. But you're going to hear a lot of talk, and you might see some pressure on Democrats to actually move forward with some types of reform for Social Security that they might not want to move forward with. So we could see a reform, but it's not a reform to increase benefits or to expand Social Security. It's reform to cut benefits and raise the full retirement age. So we'll have to see where it goes. I just wanted to show you Martin O'Malley. He is now, I believe he's no longer the Social Security Commissioner because that was effective, I think it was effective November 29th. So we will have a new Social Security Commissioner coming in, and we'll have to see that individual is going to have to go through Senate confirmation. So it's not a done deal yet, but we'll have to see how this person feels about Social Security. And I definitely want to watch those hearings just to hear what he has to say about Social Security reform. And this individual is a CEO. I believe he's a CEO. So from what I've gathered so far, he's not really, doesn't have a lot of information about Social Security, or I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's what we listen to the hearings for, so we can see what he has to say about Social Security moving forward. But if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one.